Hi, this is Adele, and in this video I'm going to show you how to begin with a totally blank canvas from the very beginning. You're going to watch me paint to the end of one whole abstract acrylic painting. Now this is just part one because it takes a while, so please stay and watch the whole thing, both parts, because you'll see me use so many interesting tools that you might not have even thought about using. Just a little quick preview. A paintbrush, which I've tied to a branch, a trowel, a palette knife, China marker, and so much more. So please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button because you are going to want to see and learn from this video and from the second part of the video and from lots more in my channel. You don't want to miss anything. So stay tuned and let's get started. This is how I begin all of my paintings, every single one, by putting a dark background on the white gessoed canvas. And I fill the whole thing fairly dark. Even when I put white over it and I'm doing a white neutral painting, then I still put all the dark over it. Why do I do that? I do that because it gives depth to the eye and the viewer that you would never expect. I've experimented so many times with putting colors on white, just using the white background of a canvas, and doing this dark one. I've experimented with multi-colors, whether it should be dark gray or black. What I've come to is this is raw umber. And different companies have different colors with raw umber, but I use golden acrylic paints, and the raw umber I just love. So you'll see me, I'm working all over with just water and the raw umber. Oh, look at that, holding my paintbrush with my mouth and my teeth. That happens sometimes. And just so you know, you don't have to, I'm not doing it evenly. I am doing it all over the place and just getting a background on. Sometimes I do it darker, sometimes just a wash. But this way, you'll just have this wonderful depth in any color that you put over it. And it just gives it this very mysterious way of, when you look at it, you'll think, gosh, that just has some kind of richness to it. What's going on? This is the magic formula that I use. I just love it. Makes everything look much more, the colors are much more, just to have depth and color, and well, you'll see as we go along. But here I am trying to finish this, and let's just watch for a second. Okay, throughout the video, you'll see me a little shaky. The building is shaky. It's a very small studio that I built in my backyard, and it's not great structure. So every time I move or move around there with the camera, then you'll see me, it'll, give some jitters, but just try to overlook that. There's always something. So this is what I'm doing now, is I'm just wiping it down to kind of, just for this video, I'm trying to get it dry enough so that I can start putting some paint over it. But I do this anyway, even if, even if I'm going to just paint right over it. Now, I usually like to try to just use a very limited palette. I think it makes things a lot more exciting, and it's so much fun to mix the colors, and everything that you do on that canvas will just be made from the 3 colors plus black plus white. and raw umber. I use raw umber a lot. I put a huge amount, as you can see on one of my palettes, I put a huge amount of white on because I put white on a lot of them, of the colors that I'm mixing. And I buy not just a small tube of white, I buy gallons of white paint because I use it a lot. Trying to open the black, but wasn't working, so I have to go get some. What I use in in mixing my paints is a paper palette, either a gray or a white. And depending on what my goal is for the color, I chose to mix this blue on the white palette because I can just see it better. Now I'm putting a little bit of the red, and I'll put a little bit of the yellow on the canvas, on the palette. But every color that I've mixed on this video is just from these colors. This is a yellow ochre. And I always put the colors on the side and add a little bit of the color to the major mix. You don't want to just pour it right in the middle because then you have so little control over the color that you're trying to make. Now what I just poured out is gloss medium. And I love gloss medium. It makes, it just gives a thickness to the paint and it doesn't dry out quite as much, and there's a movement to it that I can't get any other way. So I use a lot of gloss medium. That's manganese blue. Now typically on the first couple layers I want to put kind of a bright color or a dark color, because when I paint on top of it and I do many layers over it, I actually like to have something peek through. I like to have colors that I put on underneath, either bright or dark or unexpected, peek through. So there's going to be a lot that, even though you'll see a lot of blue, at the end you'll see just certain areas of the bright blue shining through. I kind of like surprises. And you can see on the palette and on the canvas right here, I have a variety of values of the blue. So I'm thinking of the saturation, the high saturation with the blue, the straight manganese blue. Also I mixed it with white, and a little bit of raw umber and a little bit of black to have a variety of it all over the canvas. And I actually like mixing the colors on the canvas. It gives it just an interest that I can't get any other way. Oh, like to hold my brushes in my teeth. Straight manganese blue. And I use a variety of brush strokes, up and down, side to side. Some of them I push against the canvas really hard, some of them very lightly, depending on how I want to put the paint on. Almost all the time, I rarely have an idea of what I want to do on the canvas. Once I start putting the colors on, something just starts to talk to me about, oh, this is kind of, it leads me where it wants me to go. So I just follow. But I do have something, I knew that when I started this one, I wanted to have more blue than other colors. So it was going to be like basically a blue painting. And a lot of the big brushes, I love, love, love these big brushes. And I put some paint on one side of the brush and other paints on the other side of the brush. So as I'm painting, certain colors come out, and unexpected things. I like surprises and unexpected things. So while I'm painting, I think, ooh, that's awesome, that's fabulous, and it gives me an idea. I don't like to know exactly where I'm going to go. I like to figure it out along the way. More raw umber. Straight raw umber. But you can see how when it's blended, wet on wet, it just gives such a beautiful mixture and of the color on all different varieties and values. I want to make sure I get some real darks in there. Oh, look how beautiful the mixture is. I love putting lots of water and let things drip in the beginning, just to give kind of a vertical line. Now this is a white, and I'm doing a little white, but I didn't want a stark white. I love making whites with a variety of, just a little bit of yellow or a little bit of red to make them warm, or with a little bit of blue to make it cool. So I always add a little bit of a color into my whites. And I'm just playing mixing here, seeing what happens, which is a really fun part. More gloss medium. You can see how it has a flow about it that's just fantastic. In these first stages of a painting, I'm just putting color on, experimenting, having fun, playing with no attachment whatsoever to the outcome. This is making marks over the wet paint that you can see are like, again, have some kind of line that it looks like line. So I love varieties of line into the big areas of shapes. I go through a lot of paper towels. So this is a really fun part. I attach my brushes, different size brushes, on a branch. I did a whole big cutting on a trim back on a tree in my backyard this week, and so I got all the leaves off of the branches and then tied several of my brushes on the end of it. And I like this because it's totally not controlled. I cannot control it, which is the point of doing it like this. And I hold it notice that I hold it at the very end instead of close to the brush. So I don't know what kind of mark it's going to make. And again, full of surprises. Take me on this surprise ride through the whole painting exercise. I'm pulling apart saran wrap, which I use to cover my paints from day to day, but that one had dried out, so I just threw that palette paper away. Ready to start on a new one. Oh, and that stool. That's a medical stool that rolls around, and I just love that stool. I use it. You can go up or down, and I push myself around in the studio on it, so that is my go-to. Couldn't paint without that stool. Here I'm experimenting, kind of just playing with color, adding different colors in it to make just different shades, different values, to make the painting a lot more interesting. Putting it right on with the palette knife. That's my favorite palette knife. I must have 20 of them. It's a plastic one. You can see I'm fooling with, in the upper part of the video, I have a lot more of a selection of the long branches with brushes tied to them. And some are really long, some are shorter, but they are real. Oh, here's the long one. One of the very one of the very long ones. Wait till you see. This is a fun thing to watch. Way far. And again, there is so little control over it, which is what I like. It's just a mark of some sort. Love standing back and using it on the tip end. See what happens with it. Just drawing on the canvas, just playing, having fun. I like to go off the canvas with the line, come back on again. I think probably what I'm thinking here is, let's see what's happening here. What can we do with this? Oh, more white paint. Again, I'm cutting this stark white with a couple other colors that happen to be on my palette. Even though when I put it on the canvas, it's going to look white, but it's just not this stark white. Gives it a little bit more interest. That's gloss medium. I purposely put the white on the bottom of this piece over the dark because I love the light over the dark, and then I put dark over light to make a variety of line, to make a variety of values and contrast. But look at the palettes here. The palettes that I'm working with, I mean, look at all the gorgeous colors, and it's only a limited amount of color. You don't need a whole 15 different colors.